That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
A government program.
Which government program?
Monarch.
And what is Monarch?
Monarch is an operation that was created by the United States government to create spies for other countries. They use children for the purpose that they're easily integrated into multiple personalities because they can dissociate. Monarch is a program that is run by Michael Angelo Aquino, who was an Army Reserve colonel at Presidio. He is also the leader of the Temple of Set. He also runs a child daycare center. He also is involved in human sacrifice.
Is he employed by the United States?
Yes.
At what facility?
Presidio, California.
Is that in San Francisco area? Presidio
Yes.
Naval Base?
Yes.
Do you know what rank Michael Aquino holds?
He was a colonel.
Is he currently employed there?
I am not aware of the current situation.
No. Describe the program again, the Monarch program.
Monarch, as I said, was a program that used children to make multiple personalities for future use as spies and as a way to take over the United States government. The personalities were created at the first.
Who was intending to take over the United States government?
I do not know that information.
Did you understand Mr. Aquino to be working on behalf of the United States or against the United States?
I believe he was working on behalf of the United States.
So some segment of the United States was trying to take over the United States government?
The plan that Aquino had in it was he wanted to usher in the Antichrist, which is talked about in the Bible.
This was a government-sponsored program?
Yes.
You were 7 years old at the time that you were recruited?
I was actually 3 years old when it first began, but I was not created until later on.
Who created you?
I was created by Monarch.
Do you mean Mr. Aquino? Who in Monarch created you?
I was created by Monarch. I do not know who.
What were you told when you were 4 years old that you recall now about the Monarch program?
When I first got involved, I was molested by an airman from off Air Force Base who was involved in Monarch. His job was to recruit kids from the local neighborhood who he could make dissociate by doing traumatic things to them at a very young age. Later on, when they get to school age, they would simply pick me up at school, and I would simply miss a day or two for training.
Now, is it your testimony that there was a United States plan or plot which intended to create multiple personality syndrome or dissociative personalities in children?
Yes, to my knowledge.
And that you were a victim of a plot of the United States? And that's when your multiple personalities first began to develop?
Yes.
Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome?
Yo, what's good? I went down some rabbit holes and some paths of I don't know if I like these. No, I do. Some paths of research that I haven't really gone down before regarding I guess the occult and that whole realm of things that I've been so fascinated with, and I thought that I knew a lot about. And I've been learning more and more, I guess you could say. But I just got done with Emma Catherine's second episode with this individual, this woman named Kadaya. And Kadaya is a SRA survivor, so satanic ritual abuse survivor, escaped her Illuminati family who were practicing Satanists, practicing occultists, and had put her through the whole programming and training that one goes through when it's generational. And she had become one of these mind-controlled sex slaves, essentially, that was also able to, they split her personality, so they were able to use that multiple personality split identity to have her do a whole consortium of shit, whether it's astral project, even assassinate, a whole bunch of different shit that she could carry out without even knowing she's doing it. A Manchurian candidate. And this was her second time. So she had already been on Emma Catherine's podcast, the Imagine podcast, amazing podcast. And she has a bunch of different survivors on that come from all different realms of this occultic, Luciferian, essentially religion, and you could call it a cult, and programming, and this whole organized ritual abuse, which is, I guess I just learned this today. It's called Ramcoa. So RAMCOA, it stands for ritual abuse, mind control, organized abuse. And that's essentially what's running the world at the moment. And it goes, I thought I was pretty well read and well versed on this whole realm of the occult and this Luciferian sect of people that seem to be in control of a lot of the power and wealth and influence that goes on in this country, especially the United States, and honestly globally. And essentially, I've been so fascinated with the occult and what goes on within this realm of people, this group of people that is made up of Freemasons, Illuminati members, Satanists, all different, pagans, all different sorts of groups and cults kind of make up the overall occult that we, if you're paying attention, we notice this group, the occult, seems to be running the world. That's made up of all these different types of groups that are Luciferian in nature. And this group is, I've gone over in previous episodes that they're so successful in what they do because they understand forbidden knowledge about the human psyche. They understand how to control the masses, create mass psychosis, create narratives, perform rituals, black magic in such a way that they can create people that are essentially cattle that follow a narrative or follow a path to their overall desired goal, which I would say seems to be like a surveillance digital state at the moment, but it could be something even more dark than that. I have no clue. But now I'm going down these new rabbit holes and these new fucking paths of research after listening to this second episode with Kadaya and going down some of the paths of research that she kind of laid out, and then finding more rabbit holes, and it just, I still have so much fucking research to do, but I've learned quite a bit since I've finished this second episode with Kadaya on the Imagine podcast, and then doing some initial research before recording right now regarding these rabbit holes that she sent me down regarding Phoenix 44. The Nazis' role in this, which is pretty much essential, and that the people that are called Nazis today is a joke, given what I just learned today and what the actual modern day Nazis are, and where they're operating at within this Luciferian realm. And they are descendants from the actual Nazis. And that's what I learned as well, is that, I've known that the Nazis, the Nazi party, the regime that Hitler ran in Germany, I knew they were fascinated with the occult, but they were actually like pretty much the key piece in bringing the research of mind control and the ability to split personalities and this ability to essentially create slaves that will carry out any act that you want them to do without them even knowing it. And they can be sex slaves, they can be assassins, they can be anything you pretty much want them to do. The Nazis were so fascinated with the occult, and this is the realm of research that they really went deep into, and they had a very, very vast understanding of how to perform it, how to teach it. That's probably one of the main reasons that a lot of these scientists were brought over to the United States from the Nazi Party. Yeah, they went to work at NASA and all these different places, but it seems like the main research that the U.S. specifically was interested in, especially intel agencies, government, Satanists here, religion, the main group of research, or the main research of the Nazis that we seemed to be fascinated with when we brought them over, was this mind control, sex slavery, Manchurian candidate research. And well, that's essentially what the Nazis brought over in exchange for coming to the United States. And we think of like the worst thing that Nazis ever did was like the Holocaust, and like a lot of people are starting to question that. I'm not going to even get into that right now. It doesn't matter. But they did some pretty horrific shit during World War II to a specific group of people that always bring it up today, that we hear about it nonstop. I know. Pretty horrific shit. But then you look at the shit that they were studying regarding the occult and this mind control research that they brought over to the U.S., this is still being carried out today and is essentially what is running the world. And kind of, what we are all under the illusion of, essentially. What the power above us and what's controlling us actually is Nazi research, modern day Nazi research, and essentially the Nazis not only carried out what they did with the Jews, but they are still carrying out acts just as horrific today based on this research that led to MK Ultra, Project Monarch, Phoenix 44 that I'm learning about, which essentially Kadaya, I believe, explained it as like a phoenix dies and it rises from its ashes. So if you think about it, and then 44 is that's very, very symbolic of the occult. It's one of the main numbers you would see in numerology and rituals and symbology and things like that, specifically numerology. 44 is very important. But the idea of Phoenix is it dies and it rises from its own ashes. And so when you relate that to mind control and like things like MK Ultra and Project Monarch, it's essentially saying you shatter the child's whole idea of reality, their whole idea of like an identity or a self, and you shatter it to such a degree that they can't. It can't really be fixed. So it can't be fixed in a way to bring them back to who they originally were. So it's basically a fresh blueprint of a mind that you can do anything with. So essentially, the kid is the phoenix that you shatter their personality by splitting their personality, creating dissociative personality disorder. The ability to put them in a dissociative state, or the ability to split their personality, create multiple personalities, etc., leading to the child forgetting that they were even a self before this. And that's what I got from Phoenix 44, is the child is the phoenix that you shatter their realm of identity, of reality, of a personality, and you shatter it to such a degree that you have a fresh blueprint to now allow the child, the phoenix, to rise up from its own ashes into whatever you want to create as the handler or whoever's performing the satanic ritual abuse, the organized abuse, or whatever type of mind control mechanisms being carried out in, you know, that whatever specific group of people this child ends up in the hands of. And so that was Phoenix 44, and that makes total sense because that's exactly what you do to mind control people. Is the easiest way is to split their personality, and usually the easiest way to split a personality is to put them through very, very horrific satanic ritual abuse that involves sexual abuse, torture, you know, just all sorts of horrific, heinous things that the child has to endure that shatters their whole sense of reality and identity. And that's what Kadaya went through. And she went through some pretty bad shit that, I mean, in this episode, one being a picture she showed where the face is blurred, but it's her biological dad. Or her real, I don't know if it's I don't even know with the Satanists if it's biological, because I'm pretty sure they all fuck each other like an Eyes Wide Shut party. They all have masks on. They're just fucking each other, you know, in an orgy. And then somehow people get pregnant, but they're like, I don't even know who got me pregnant because I was fucking everyone at the orgy. I think this happens a lot with politicians and shit. That's why Chelsea Clinton doesn't look like a Bill at all, but looks like Hillary. That's just a allegation, but it is kind of weird. But she shows this picture of her and her old father, her original father, who she escaped from, and the face is blurred out. And I will say, this guy, I was following him on Twitter for a second because he allowed me, and then he had blocked Emma Catherine, the host of the Imagination podcast, who was interviewing Kadaya. He had blocked her, and then I was commenting on her stuff to him or about him, and then I followed him and he was chill with it, and then I started kind of talking shit, because who wouldn't talk shit to this fucking absolute piece of fucking garbage? It's literally the gum on the bottom of a bum's shoe, worthless piece of shit. But he's known as the brain guy. He's one of the top brain experts, it seems. He even had a TED Talk. His name's Terry Small. So if you want to go talk shit to him, you can find him on Twitter or X. It's either under the brain guy or that brain guy, but you just look up Terry Small. He's a bald fucking piece of shit. You can go look at his TED Talk on YouTube. But it makes sense that he would be one of the most well-renowned or well-versed people in the brain, given that his whole operation is mind controlling his younger victims, even his kids, to such an extent that he can create these Manchurian candidates. He's literally doing MK Ultra, Project Monarch, research mechanisms on his victims. So it only makes sense that he is known as the brain guy. He is a fucking piece of garbage, scumbag, pussy. Fuck Terry Small. But yeah, go talk shit to him. Let him know that everyone's starting to find out about his fucking bullshit, and his victims aren't going to be scared to talk anymore if people are, starting to wake up to the vast amount of instances like Kadaya. Like, it is so vast. It essentially is what our whole government is. It's what the whole entertainment business is. It's what your favorite celebrities are, your favorite anything, your heroes, childhood heroes, whatever it is. It is such a vast network of generational mind control and programming that they have essentially taken over and now inhabit like the most important aspects of our country: government, entertainment, fashion, you can say banking. It goes so deep. This Luciferian religion, the occult, which is, made up and compromised of Freemasons, Illuminati. This goes even to the police department, all the way to the intel agencies. Like, it is very deep and very vast, but it's made up of all these different types of groups that are secret societies or cults or religions, Jesuits, whatnot. And this dates back very, very, very far. The occult is known as the old religion. These people are Luciferian. They believe in Lucifer is a higher power than God. And they do truly believe this. This is the opposite of religion or Christianity or good and moral values is not atheism or science. It's literally the opposite. It's the occult. It's the Luciferian idea of, we believe in another God that's higher than your God, and we actually want to invert everything that your God believes, which, if you're on the side of good, they want to invert everything that's good. And that's why they attack innocence as their main mechanism of action, which would be children are the most innocent beings on the planet. And if you're going to attack the most innocent being and you invert that, you are essentially going against everything that is good, or anything that, something like someone, anything that God is. It's trying to invert that because they are Luciferian. And they believe that just as much as, Christians or any monotheistic religions believe in their God. They believe in Lucifer, and they believe in his power is more than any other deity in the world, or, that inhabits this planet, essentially. They believe in that to such a degree that it's, just as religious as any other monotheistic religion that you think of as like a normal religion. This isn't like atheist bullshit. That's child's play. Child's play, science and atheism. Go to the child's table, fucking pussies. Oh my God, atheists are so annoying. But yeah, so to get back to this, and this picture of her and her dad, her old father, it's a picture of them on a camping trip, and he had told her they're going to go on a camping trip, just them, and she's like, okay, I'm so excited, because we didn't usually do things together unless he was like, checking my memory to see how my programming's doing, to see how his protege or his project is turning out, if it's going to be successful. And so she was under the impression that she's going to just on a camping trip with her dad. But the picture's already fucked up to begin with, because he's got his hand in a weird place, lifting up the shirt. She's 6 years old, smiling, because, well, in her words, she explains that she was programmed to always smile, even when in uncomfortable situations. So even as you can see her trying to push the hand away that's lifting up her shirt in this picture, which is crazy, she is still smiling. So that's just the picture that she showed us of this trip. But what happened on this trip was, it was a Freemason lodge, I think called the Elk Lodge, where she was brought, and I think, in some ritualistic way, paraded or, paraded around to all these other members, or, like, it's kind of like the Twin Peaks, whatever that little weird trafficking lodge was in Twin Peaks that Ben Horn owned, that he had all those young women that were underage, essentially being pimped out. But this is like way younger. Kadaya was 6, and essentially she was trafficked at this Freemason lodge, the Elk Lodge. I forget where it was, to a bunch of these other men that were there that, raped her, sexually abused her. And that's what she was. She was trafficked by her own father on a camping trip that she thought it was just going to be her at 6 years old, to a bunch of other fucking freaks that were performing their heinous crimes on her. And and the result was even deeper and more more in-depth programming that they wanted to carry out. This is essentially like one of the rituals to, go along with her programming she was under with her Illuminati Luciferian family. So that was one thing she was talking about. And so when we talk about a Freemason lodge, this Elk Lodge, people want to go okay, it's not all for the Freemason thing is a front, it seems like. These little secret society groups, they all, Illuminati, Freemasons, Jesuits, all these Knights Templar, all these different groups or religions or cults that have very elite ties, very secretive ties, bloodline ties usually. They might be different groups, but they're all kind of working in the same realm, the same religion, if you want to say, of, the Luciferian realm, the occult realm. And so whether or not they're in different groups, the overall goal and the overall big picture that they all subscribe to is the same. It's Luciferian and it's occultic. And so when this brings, and then, there's so many different realms I can go down. I'm going to have to do so much more research, obviously. But once I saw that this was a Freemason's realm or a Freemason's lodge, the Elk Lodge, I was like, okay, that's weird, because we know a lot of like Freemasons that we think of as like good people. One of them being George Washington, like the first president of the United States. And that I was like, okay, that's fucking freaky, because if you got, I don't know, it's you think about Freemasons now, and I know some Freemasons, and then you think about our first president, you think about the number of people that we have been told are great people and like very central figures in our history. We're told they've done great things, and the history books, keep programming the masses that come through the universities and the, public education system. They're programmed to believe these people are heroes, but they're Freemasons. And what I've learned today through, Kadaya's episode is like, okay, Freemasons are a no-no. And even that doesn't matter. I'm not including all Freemasons. I'm just saying there are certain people that join a group that aren't high enough to know what actually goes on in their group and what the actual purpose of their group is. And they don't even know that they're operating on a realm of almost being a puppet or being like a pet that's told what to go do. And they're carrying out specific things with good intentions, but who are they carrying this out for? Who are they operating for? Do they know what these people are up to? And so I go to Emma Catherine's X profile, because this is what sent me down all these rabbit holes. I was finding new people to follow and whatnot. And one of the most recent things she's talking about is this. So it's a picture of a George Washington statue. I'm no clue where this is, but given it's George Washington, I'm guessing the United States. And it says his name on the statue, and then it says Freemason and first president with the Freemason symbol, the G in the middle and the diamond-like shape that we saw on Erica Kirk's ring when she was touching fake Charlie in the casket and fake crying over him. Probably her handler was recording it. And so Emma says America was founded by Freemasons, and Freemasons are a global child trafficking enterprise. Who and what you think the Constitution... Okay. Who and what do you think the Constitution was actually created to protect? Hint, not you, not me, not your freedom, and certainly not children. But y'all ain't ready for that conversation yet. And yeah, I'm ready. I'm down. I'll go down any fucking realm. At this point, we've been lied to so many times. I don't even know the last time we were told a truth by the people that are in positions of power that, seem to all be related in some weird bloodline way, some weird incestuous way, or some way of like marrying families together. It's all elite bullshit. this occult Luciferian bullshit. And you go to the comments though, and a lot of people were not ready for this conversation. People were freaking out, and I mean, this goes to show you they're programmed as well, because you usually freak out when someone, the way they freak out is a way, it's similar to like the women that get crazy eyes immediately once you bring up like the topic of abortion to discuss with them at a protest about abortion. They immediately get crazy eyes, almost like they're possessed, and they get very violent and aggressive, and they freak out. The people in the comments after Emma said this kind of seemed like they were acting in the same way. And that just goes to show you that she said something that went against their programming, and that's why they act like that. Because that's why the baby killers at protest act in that same manner, because they've been programmed to react in that way if something goes against that programming. And so you go to the comments, and one of the first things you find is Red Pill Drifter, the fucking goat, post a documentary about the founding fathers, which were not Christian, he says, but rather Freemasons. Most won't be able to handle this red pill. Put everything you've been taught to the side and realize our country was infiltrated from the beginning. The Hidden Faith of the Founding Fathers, complete documentary. So that's like 2 hours long. Immediately after this, gonna go and watch. Can't fucking wait. I mean, there's so this shit goes so deep, it's insane. But then you go a little bit farther, and I mean, there's this one guy, William Morgan, which this is interesting too. I mean, we can read this real quick since I'm on it, but this comes from @GrayAreaMonarch. I'll give you a follow. He brings up this character, this individual named William Morgan in the Anti-Masonic Party. And he writes, did you know that the anti-Masons emerged as an important third-party alternative to Andrew Jackson's Democrats and Adams' National Republicans, two wings of the same bird, two cheeks of the same ass, of their Masonic masters? He says, but wait, there's more, and we might just have to finish the job, then make a new holiday to commemorate. William Morgan, born in 1774, disappeared 1826. Morgan was a resident of Batavia, New York, whose disappearance and presumed murder in 1826 ignited a powerful movement against the Freemasons, a fraternal society that had become influential in the United States. After Morgan announced his intention to publish a book exposing Freemasonry's secrets, he was arrested on trumped-up charges. He disappeared soon after and was believed to have been kidnapped and killed by Masons from Western New York. The allegations surrounding Morgan's disappearance and presumed death sparked a public outcry and inspired Thurlow Weed and others to harness the discontent by founding the new Anti-Masonic Party in opposition of President Andrew Jackson's Democrats. The Anti-Masonic Party, the AM Party, was the earliest third party in the United States, formerly a single-issue party. It strongly opposed Freemasonry in the United States. The party was founded following the disappearance of William Morgan, a former Mason who had become a prominent critic of the Masonic organization. Many believed that Masons had murdered Morgan for speaking out against Masonry. The Anti-Masonic Party was formed in upstate New York in February 1828. Anti-Masons were opponents of Freemasonry, believing that it was a corrupt and elitist secret society which was ruling much of the country in defiance of Republican principles. Many people regarded the Masonic organization and its adherents involved in government as corrupt. As many Masons were prominent businessmen and politicians, the backlash against the Masons was also a form of anti-elitism. Okay, so that's something too. That's a whole nother realm. I'm not going to go down that, but that's just like, I mean, they've been around. They've been very powerful. And when people that were even part of their group from our history have tried to criticize them, kind of like when you criticize Israel now, funny enough, they end up disappearing. But then you go further in the comments on this attack on Freemasons by Emma regarding our founding fathers and like who they wrote the Constitution for, and what was this country really founded on, and what are its real values. And then people start, freaking out that are probably Freemasons themselves, but aren't high enough in this society, in this group, to understand where Emma's coming from. They don't understand what is really going on in the upper echelon of their secret society. And when they freak out, Emma responds perfectly. I'm trying to find which one because all right, so this guy goes, not Freemasons. 95% of what they do is charitable work and donating money, fundraising. Yeah, just like all charities are great and NGOs are fascinating. He also says, unless it's a niche at the top, but most Freemasons are just regular people who are part of a dude's club, also doing the work of child traffickers, and you don't even know it. It's like the military and police doing the work of people like Trump, the Clintons, all the politicians that are in power, all the politicians that have known Epstein. The police and military are literally at the behest doing their work for them, getting the military and the police and the authorities are committing acts on their fellow human beings at the fucking at the behest of the powers that tell them to do so. So the people that are above them, like let's say it's the Luciferian occult that, is running the government, is running the intelligence, is running all these very important aspects of our reality, our country. They don't have to get the blood on their hands by, going and maybe shooting people in the streets during an ICE protest. But the people, the ICE agents that are shooting people in the streets, their fellow beings, their fellow humans, they're getting the bloods on their hands for the occult Luciferian powers that are at the top. And so they're kind of, acting in a Luciferian way because they're doing the work of the Luciferian, or they're carrying out the commands of the Luciferian group of people that runs the world, or that is, well, seems to be running the world, at least this country at the moment. Very powerful group of people, have been for a while. And Emma responds perfectly, goes 95% covers up for the 5% at the top running a child trafficking operation. The 95% have no idea they are being used as a front to a crime operation. And let's go. There's some more. Okay, so this guy, Lord B, yes, I am an actual lord. Okay, so he must be a Freemason. He must be a faggot Freemason that knows nothing. He's just in a dude's club, right? He's just in a dude's club where these dudes like to fuck young dudes, very young dudes, and just young people in general, and traffic them to other dudes in their club. But it's a big club and you're in it, but dude, you're not even. It must suck to think that you're in this secret society and you don't get to see what's, how things operate at the highest levels of that society, and you think you are maybe operating in that realm. What a fucking state of ignorance to be in. But he says, he comments on Emma's post and he goes, Freemasons do not child traffic. It's a different group, sick bastards, not Freemasons. We do good, but ambulances, fire engines, charity work. And Emma responds, goes, sorry, but my podcast proves you wrong. Survivors of the high-level Freemasons would know better than you. I believe them. Their testimonies are the truth. You are ignoring them in favor of your bias. You should listen. Good shit. And then this guy, whoever this fucking dipshit is, rocking 4x4's comments, so what is your solution? So he's getting all nihilistic and, he's acting like a goddamn cynic, like a pussy. He goes, so what is your solution? What do you want us to do about it now? Dissolve the Constitution? Vote for Democrats instead of Republicans? Both on the same team, by the way, you fucking retard. He goes, that will solve it. It does sound like you are for the globalists who are most definitely on the side of extermination of populations. This guy's a retard. And she goes, I'm an anarchist. I believe in natural law, not man's law. We cannot vote our way out of this problem. It's a systematic rot that was built into the very fabric of our society. Government is a slave system, and politicians are slave masters. Just like I said with the ICE, and so they're carrying out the acts that should be carried. You know, if you know the Luciferian occult members want this shit to happen, these blood sacrifices to happen, they should carry them out themselves, or at least attempt to. But our military and the people doing their work for them that think they're doing good, think they have good intentions, are so ignorant and naive to what they're actually carrying out and doing to their fellow human beings at the command of a Luciferian controlled group of people. Not even control, a Luciferian worshiping group of people. And she goes further and says, and society are slaves for believing we need this BS in order to live our lives on this planet. I'm anti-government and anti-slave. So this is like the Mark Passio argument, which is, I believe, completely right. Natural law natural law given to man, given to humans, is by far not only obviously the most moral way to go about things, but it is the objectively right way to go about things. We were all born as humans, all equal as humans. There should be no humans operating at a higher level in a hierarchy, making rules for other humans to follow, when everyone was born a human, which means we're all equal as humans, which means no one deserves, no one has the right to tell other humans what to do. Everyone was given rights as, natural law by God, some would say, not from another human being. There's no, it's government in a sense is immoral. It literally is the opposite of moral or ethical or right. It is literally the opposite, just like Luciferians, the opposite of anything good. It's just inverting everything. We were all born as humans. There's no sensical answer or way of explaining that other human beings should operate at a higher plane of reality over others, in that they can make laws and control the reality and narrative of other human beings. It's just not right. Natural law given to man. Go research Mark Passio, but that's basically what she explains there. So people freak out about that, but now it's like, that's the first thing I thought of when I heard that, I knew the Freemasons were involved in scummy shit, but I had to start looking at it from, Emma's perspective and the people she's talked to, because they've, like she said, they've seen the operations, they've seen what actually goes on at the highest levels of these groups, and in the members that I would know, or the members that I might have read that are in these groups, have no fucking clue what the fuck is going on at the highest levels of anything. They're just in a group that, whether it makes them just feel good to be in the group, or whether they think they're actually doing good in this group, or that this group does good, they're all ignorant and naive and should be ashamed of their fucking ignorance. And ignorance must be bliss, because I'm just in a group that is a bunch of dudes. Well, those dudes that tell you what to do traffic children, and would gladly probably traffic your children, whether or not you're in their group or not. You're not at the same level as them. You're just a little slave. You're just a little slave to the slave master. But so, yeah, I'm going to have to go down that rabbit hole of like our founding fathers now, in this whole occult thing. But to get back to like where this comes from, the Nazis, it's insane. We're all the Holocaust, fucking World War II. The worst thing the Nazis ever did was that. Yeah, not good, not a good look at all. And all these people, I've almost fallen prey to it, kind of fallen prey to it, because of everything that Israel has been carrying out, but you can't. It's not just one group of people. This occult, this Luciferian religion, is comprised of many groups of people, and they all play their part. And and you have people like, now I'm thinking back, like I've agreed with Fuentes on some things. I've laughed at the joke that the Nazis had drip, which they kind of did. They had nice uniforms, I'm not going to lie. But I also did know that they were very fascinated with the occult. And I was too dumb to, even think that, obviously I'm not with the NASA shit, the space shit, the moon landing bullshit, but that's where I believe Nazis went to psyop people and maybe carry out black projects and do some classified research. I think, I'm just going to say right now, I was too ignorant and naive as well to, think a little bit for myself or a little bit further. Use my mind a little bit to say, okay, if they're fascinated with the occult, and I know what the occult's up to, especially the people that make up the occult, the Satanists, essentially the Luciferians, it would make perfect sense that the group of people that control most of everything in our country, my country, the United States, the people that are kind of influencing everything, that control most of the wealth, that control most of the, let's say, property, most of they are the most powerful people in the country, maybe world. It would only make sense that they had to get the research and the hidden, forbidden knowledge that they know from somewhere. And if they're occultist and they're Luciferian, it would make sense that the scientists they brought over from Nazi Germany after World War II were the ones providing that research that led to MK Ultra, Project Monarch, essentially Ramcoa overall. And that's exactly what happened. They did some bad things in those concentration camps, but that's where they, I think, obviously did a bunch of this research. And they were doing a bunch of occultic research that no one speaks about aside from the concentration camps, I believe. And I think they were maybe even engaging in black magic. Aleister Crowley, I forget the other one's name, but the rocket scientist, they were engaging in that type of ritualistic behavior. Even the swastika, everyone just sees it as straight Nazi. It's like a very ancient symbol that relates to the occult. Like, they were tapped in. They were trying to do shit with they were trying to study UFOs and all this space shit that now the US is very fascinated with. It's almost like all those scientists and occultists as a form. So this goes into something else that I kind of found out about as well when I was going down these rabbit holes, is that, well, obviously the hardest place to infiltrate and take over and to beat in a war at the moment, given our technology and our very specific place that we inhabit, our country, our land, it's very hard to take over the United States. Very hard to invade, very hard to win any war, given our place geographically and our technology. And so the occultists understand that they can do it over time, and they're okay with waiting generations and passing down this plan through generations and letting it play out over time. And they would do that by infiltrating and then taking over from the inside, because doing it physically through war is just not feasible given the technology the US has and the land we inhabit. And so that's exactly what seems to have happened. We let a bunch of occultists in exchange for, the research that they had and the knowledge that they knew, which they taught to us, but we also let them infiltrate the United States and create the Constitution, it seems like. Or, that's way before the Nazis came in, but I mean, so I guess it goes back even further. I guess they were already occultists maybe, and they were like, just, you guys have some research that we probably like, and bring it over, and we won't kill you. And well, you know, that's the video I'm referencing wasn't referencing anything to do with the founding fathers, but it had, he was saying that there is an enormous group of sleeper cells that are not the ones that we're told that are like, you know, the, you know, jihadist, or, you know, the Muslim terrorist, or the, you know, Somalis or Haitians or whatnot. These sleeper cells that we're told that are like immigrants that are immigrating here illegally, the sleeper cells, not those ones. But there's another group of sleeper cells that are essentially victims, pretty much unknowingly, but they would know if you show, I guess you showed them the signs of what being under mind control and a split personality is. A lot of them start coming out of their programming, but it's a group of sleeper cells that don't know they're a sleeper cell, a part of a sleeper cell, and they also don't know that they're under some form of control and programming that was carried out on them throughout childhood in a whole bunch of different ways, whether it was satanic ritual abuse or just abuse in general, and like MK Ultra type mechanisms. They were victims of those growing up, and so were the people that were programming them, usually their parents or someone close to them. And I guess when the Nazis came over and it started, so you had 30s, 40s, and 50s, it kind of started. So this is decades and decades. These are generations of people. They came over. They were able to create the first parents that were under this form of mind control and programming, essentially where you can turn them on and off as Manchurian candidates. And those parents had kids. That generation had kids. So the first generations that experienced this Luciferian occult programming, mind control, ended up passing it on to the next generation, their kids, which led to a domino effect of this mind control program through decades of time and through many, many generations of people in the United States. And many of them are operating right now, blending in pretty much unknowingly, unconscious of being under this programming, this mind control, not really aware that they can be flipped on immediately whenever at the sound of a cue or the sound of a phrase, whatever it is, whatever the cue is, and they can be turned on all at the same time or different times whenever the handlers of these people choose to do so. And they are everywhere. These are normal people in every realm and every aspect of reality, every industry of work, in every university, in at different let's say social classes, everywhere, blending in everywhere, and they're pretty much unaware of it, and it's generational. And this guy said, I'm probably butchering this, I might honestly play the clip, but apparently there's like there's tens of millions of these people just in the United States. And I am going to play the clip because it's so fascinating, and I don't think I explained it well enough. So, but it all started when the Nazis came over and they performed their research essentially and programmed and mind controlled the first generation of people that ended up becoming parents of the next generation that experienced this programming, which led to generations and generations and generations up until today of people experiencing and becoming victims of this Project Monarch, MK Ultra, Ramcoa mind control. And they can be flipped on anytime. And there's tens of millions of them. And most of them are unaware of their programming and what they are and what they've experienced. Fuck, did I not save this, dude? I'm gonna be pissed. All right. All right, hold on. I think I can find it, maybe. All right, I got some. Then I gotta go. There's so much shit I have to say about this, and it's still like probably not even cracking the surface. Shit. Come on. Damn, this is gonna upset me if I can't find it. Come on. Man, I don't know.
Dr. Cameron went further with drugs and
Let's see if I can.
Swine.
Oh, I found it. All right, let's go. Need to bookmark that. See if I can save that. Download. All right, so.
The Black Awakening. Can you define that again for me? That those are those people that
It's the Black Awakening. So yeah, that's also Kadaya also explained and went over the same concept, which she called the Black Awakening. And she's not the only one that's gone over this. And this guy's not either. A bunch of survivors and victims have talked about the Black Awakening, which seems like most of the victims were aware of, or were. Yeah, we'll see.
like supercells and they're going to be woke up? Is that like a lot of military people, or is that like in general?
No, soccer mom people.
Really?
You betcha, bro.
Okay.
A lot of them are not military people. You'll have them in the military, right? You want them placed in specific locations and in chains of command so that they can have access to certain biological agents or certain types of weaponry or arsenals. But a lot of them are just going to be what you and I would consider as normies, just normal people that to their friends and their family, they're just another neighbor next door who lives on the other side of the white picket fence that goes to church on Sunday, or, you know, that kind of person is the ideal for your sleeper cells. You want people that are blending in, period. But Russ Dizdar book, which is called The Black Awakening, goes into, I don't know, it's like an 800-page book. It's a dissertation about the history of these families, bloodlines, and people that have worked very diligently, in particular during the Third Reich, where so much of this information was systematized, where they took what had been occult knowledge about splitting realms and programming and all of those other things we talked about earlier, and they scientifically methodized it. And that's what so much of what Dr. Green, as he's often called, or Josef Mengele, that's what a lot of his experimental projects and research was, to create a spy that didn't know they were a spy. And a Manchurian candidate is another way of saying it. That research that was pioneered in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s is led to generations of men and women who were subjects to that originally, by the United States military and the government and all of these agencies from the Nazis that we brought over here to establish and found these groups. They came here because they had these documents, they had the papers. That's what the scientists used as a passcode to get through the Nuremberg trials. They're like, yeah, I know, I killed 180,000 people allegedly in here, but I have all this research. And they're like, no Hingman's news for you. Why don't you just come on into the Catholic Intelligence Agency right here? They're like, come join us here at NASA. It'll be great.
We're going to reform you.
We're going to reform you. We'll get you into JPL. It'll be great. There's another cultist in there just like you. You know? And so that those parents, those moms and dads in the 30s, 40s, and 50s had children, and they do the same thing to them unknowingly. They create compartmentalized, fragmented, polyfragmented, super intelligent children that are programmed. It's a default. And if not, their handlers who are with the family and assigned to them are going to do it. And so this is how we create a generational increase of the size of the underground army. And that's what's been taking place since the 50s. And this is why you can follow. You had a psychiatrist on too that gives an excellent breakdown on psychiatric disorders and the demonic and understanding schizophrenia. But there's this prevalence, if you start to study the prevalence in the history of asylums, in insane asylums, the rates of DID, this are what was called multiple personality disorder. People starting to come in with all these multiple personalities, and it increased exponentially every generation as there was more of these families that had been brought into that world and are in these projects. And so today we're looking at 10 to 30 million people just right here in this region that have been subjects to this same polyfragmented mind control.
What region?
Like east of the Mississippi region.
Really?
You betcha, bro. All day
and they don't even know?
Parts of them know. But their front half is oblivious. But there's telltale signs. A lot of people just don't know until you suddenly point out the facts to them about like what is. You can hand somebody the descriptions of the symptoms of dissociative identity disorder, and you will watch people, their eyes will roll around in their head, they'll start shaking internally and twitching. You'll see this programming start shutting off and all kinds of weird hypnotic things start coming out of their mouths. You'll see this happen with people because they've made it basically anonymous. You can't find out information about this stuff. They don't want people to know that because once you start to put it in the place that, no, there could be subset program personalities, that unlocks the whole thing. Like with the Nephilim earlier, you're talking about that being one of those keys that unlock the understanding because so much of this are dying. Well, so is split minds and multiple personalities. That's the big giant secret that they don't want anybody really looking into. They want you to think of, oh, some movie, Fight Club. That's the DID thing. They don't want you to understand how weaponized it is. That's what Jason Bourne is, right? He's a split personality who wakes up out of programming on a mission. That's what happens to people. They go offline and they suddenly wake up and they went from sleeping in their bed next to their husband in middle income America and they're sitting somewhere in Nicaragua and they just strangled a man to death and his children phone calls with guys that this is still what they do. And this.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So. All right. Where is? So yeah. Did not want that, my bad. My bad. I don't even know how to get right to YouTube. That's gay. But yeah, so that's basically it. So yeah, they create the Nazis, like he said, were pretty much very important in creating this generational group of tens of millions of people through their systemized way of doing. These people, most of them are unaware that they've ever been programmed because they become someone with multiple personalities where these personalities are compartmentalized and they're not aware that they went through any abuse or programming or MK Ultra mind control tactics. And the people performing the programming, if it wasn't the handler, usually the parents, someone in the family, is unaware that they're even performing the programming because they were unaware that they were even programmed. And they can be turned on and just like Jason Bourne, they can be turned on, carry out an assassin or astral project, like Kadaya said she was used to do, and then I mean you could flip them on to carry out a number of things, almost an infinite amount of task, whether it's assassination, astral projecting, programming another, trafficking. You can have them carry out anything, and then you can have them wake up in the middle of fucking nowhere without them knowing how the fuck they got there. They go offline, like you said, and so that was fascinating as well. And then there's more. This brings us to, okay, so I'll go through this real quick before we get into the Project 68, or what they called Sub Project 68 and MK Ultra. But this was just another SRA, satanic ritual abuse survivor, who was also on Emma Catherine's podcast, the Imagination Podcast, and her name's Callie Shy, or Callie Shay. She talks about how her family would juice bodies through FMC, food, machinery, chemicals, at Ocean Spray, Dole Citrus, and a bunch of other companies. These huge, world-renowned companies that we know about, that we see as just like just a normal business, just a what should I say? A main player in their business, which is, essentially food, machinery, and chemicals. I kind of want her to explain it. It's a little long, but essentially what she says is that here, the truck drivers that would drive these foods and whatnot would like bury. They would also, I think, worked at graveyards, and they would take bodies from the graveyards and they would put them in the food trucks that they were driving with the like citrusy foods or citrusy fruits and all the other food that they had in the truck, which would mask the smell. And they would bring these bodies to like the facilities where they were like making juice, so like using these huge machines that, had a whole assembly line, where she was brought to be, abused and, essentially programmed. And she explains like tunnels that were underneath. She knows at least one of these tunnel operations still exists today under one of these companies. It's got to be Ocean Spray, Dole, or one of the other huge businesses in this industry. But she says that she would be taken to like a underground tunnel where there's like little carts, like a little roller coaster you would ride at Disneyland. She says, think about maybe like the Harry Potter Gringotts Bank tunnel system, where they get in that little car and the goblin fucking drives them to their vault to get whatever they need. They had a tunnel system like that, where they would like ride in little carts with their handler, where she tells a story about watching another girl about her age in a cart in front of her with her handler being abused. And she also says, because we know about adrenochrome, I brought that up countless times, she says that these guys were so fucking heinous that when they were done abusing them, they wouldn't even they wouldn't even put the blood or anything into a vial, or do it like, in some type of, what should I say, controlled way. They would literally just bite the neck like a vampire, so that it starts bleeding, and suck the blood from the neck of these victims that they would abuse in this underground tunnel system in little like roller coaster carts. And then she says this girl that she watched that happen to, the dude just threw her out on the tracks right after he was done with her. And she also says at these same places, these huge industrial places involved in food, machinery, and chemicals, where they would press a bunch of, fruits or things like that to make juice, they would also put bodies on the assembly line, where they had a press for the bodies that would basically squeeze and press all the fluids of whatever body they put on into some tube, which would drain into buckets that were also in that tunnel system. So it's like the bottom of the plate. It's like the basement, the bottom ground level of this huge building or business, whatever you want to call it. And she said that these fluids that they would drain from the bodies that they brought from places like graveyards would go into making food products, beauty products, and would be sold to people throughout the world. And that is fucking disgusting.
There seems to be
Let's see if I
Disney would go down these tracks.
here. Let's listen to it.
And these trucks travel all around the country, I'm guessing, because I know even out here in Nevada, Florida made something, you know, oranges from Florida, orange juice, whatever it is. Anywhere you can drive a truck, yeah. Absolutely. You know, I would be taken to the plants. I would be taken to the heads of operation. I would be taken to Dole's Citrus. I would be taken to Ocean Spray and to places like that, and then taken down. You know, they showed me, they would give me tours of the factories and stuff like that. A lot of them were pretty neat to be able to see the production, the conveyor belts with the fruit being destemmed, coming down the line, and then it goes through washing, and then it goes through waxing, and they worked on a lot of those machines and stuff. Like I said, FMC was food, machinery, and chemicals. So they dealt with the food business, food industry, the machinery that processed food, and chemicals. So they had, they were manufacturing all kinds of chemicals, even using juiced human remains, because they were doing that as part of the occult practice.
Oh.
There's rollers on these machines that they were making big enough to put a cadaver through. So they would juice fruit, and then, they would juice human remains. And they were using the juices to manufacture products. These products go into different food things for flavoring. They go into lip fillers and face fillers. They go into a lot of things. People can research that, but it's important to know. I've seen it done.
So that's that. And she goes further and says, I mean, she was programmed and abused and mind controlled through her family as well, just like Kedaya. And so it's usually generational within the family. These Luciferian Satanist occultists perform the programming that they know or have researched or have been through on their own kids. They see their kids as essentially projects or potential proteges or potential and just they just look at their children as projects for their own research or for the continuation of their generational programming that they were put through. It's disgusting. And she says that she doesn't know if it was her brother or just like some boy that she grew up with, but she ended up marrying him. He was always the one that was doing the raping, that was told to, do the raping, programmed to rape her. But she says she didn't know if it was her brother or just some boy that grew up with the family. But they kind of lived when they were younger as like siblings. So that's just what she called him, her brother. But this was the one that I think she ended up marrying. She went through one of the Luciferian Satanist wedding rituals with him. He was the one that raped her throughout her childhood. She was, trafficked to her father's friends or other members of the group, blindfolded and never knowing who was doing the abusing which time. And she would tell on people for abusing her. But then the person she would tell on, it might have just been the person that she might have been telling the person that abused her that someone abused her because she didn't know who was doing it, she said, because she had a blindfold over her fucking face every time. They called it a hoodwink, I think. Disgusting. These people should be fucking killed. These people should literally be shot in the fucking head and killed. They are a waste of oxygen, and they are a waste of fucking space and a right to a fair trial. Yeah, right. Just literally, I don't know why they don't just fucking kill these people, but there is a reason they don't. It's because the most powerful people in the world are the ones that make up this group of people. It's disgusting and fucked up. These people are, not only in the most important industries of business and medicine and law and government, but they're also in, they're also in the realms of places like CPS or FEMA or any of those types of organizations. All right, now we go to, let's talk about Sub Project 68 in MK Ultra. So Dr. Cameron, and so this, I'm going to put this in the intro, so I'm not going to play it, but Paul Bonacci, I think that's how you say his name. He was the one that was part of the, he was part of the Franklin investigation, because he was, I think, programmed to also kind of take part in this abuse on other people, younger people. And I think he was programmed to become a programmer, kind of like Ghislaine and Jeffrey were programmed and groomed to become groomers, and who they became. And so he ended up kind of coming out of his programming during this investigation and was able to tell like what happened. And he said that he was, I think, put in a daycare or some type of program, schooling system, where he was in the Presidio facility in San Francisco, California. And if you know anything about the Presidio facility in San Francisco, you know about Michael Aquino, the general in the military who was definitely doing weird shit with kids. Even these kids could recall specific rooms and specific things in this guy's house, which his house was, I'm pretty sure, blood red. That might have been, no, I'm pretty sure Aquino's house was the blood red one, if I'm correct. I know he had a weird satanic fucking house, but Michael Aquino, also the founder of the Temple of Set, he might have, unleashed and summoned Set into this world. It was kind of like a step over what Anton LaVey was doing at the Church of Satan. I think it had more like Nazi roots to it, to be honest. So it probably had more of that mind control Ramcoa vibe, as I should I say. But the daycare systems are flooded with this. Like, fuck the Somali fraud. Like, exactly like what this tweet says. Like, who cares about the Somali fraud? It's bad, but it's fraud and it's just money. What's really going on in the daycares that aren't inhabited by Somalis and are operated by intel agents, foreign interest, or maybe military officials or very high level government officials? What's going on with these fucking daycares? Don't drop your kids off at any daycare. Just like Kurt Metzger said, he tweeted, "I wouldn't even drop my dog off at daycare." Live by that. And especially if you have to do it, you better fucking make sure that daycare is only ran and operated by women. I know women can be vicious, but if you drop your kid at a daycare that's operated or run by men or has men working in it, get your kid, especially if you have a little boy and you have a little son, and you take them to a daycare and there's men working there or that run the fucking daycare, you immediately should spit on them and then take your kid and get the fuck out of there and notify the authorities, who are probably in on it anyway. I mean, so that just makes you think about what's going on in these school systems, these preschools, these daycares. Presidio had tunnels under it that they told everyone was complete lies and complete nonsense. But now we have blueprints that came out in court that proves there was tunnel systems under Presidio. Michael Aquino was operating at Presidio, the military base in San Francisco, California, and Paul Bonacci says that he was at Presidio. He was put into this program. Every couple of days or so, or every week or so, Michael Aquino would come, pick him up from school, and then he would just miss school for a couple of days to go with Aquino wherever the fuck they went, probably his house, to endure this programming and this ritual abuse to create who he ended up becoming, to create his new character in life, which was to be part of this whole group of abuse and programming. He was programmed to become a programmer, and he came out of it and was able to tell the tale. But what was going on at Aquino's house? I mean, a lot of shit. I've gone over that. In past episodes. But the weirdest thing that Aquino, this is the one thing I always vividly remember reading or hearing about. Well, I've heard and read about it multiple times, but it always sticks out the most. Michael Aquino and his wife, when they would put a young child under this programming in this Ramcoa, this satanic ritual abuse at his house, they would not only do the abuse from who they are, so Michael Aquino, boy or husband, male, his wife, female, they would cross-dress and play the opposite role of mother and father, and then do the same abuse onto that child, just completely shattering, destroying any sense of reality, narrative, personality, identity, self that child will ever fucking have. And then that's the Phoenix 44, which now the child burns into ashes, shattering itself, becoming essentially someone with no identity or sense of personality. And in the result is, through the abuse and programming, especially when you're cross-dressing and playing the opposite role and then switching back and forth and doing the same thing, that child rises from its ashes into a new programmed Manchurian candidate that will do whatever they were programmed to do at the cue that you give them. So I'm going to put that video in the intro, but you can look that up. Paul Bonacci, the Franklin investigation, 1990. But Subproject 98 and MK Ultra was involving a Dr. Cameron who he served in the Nuremberg trials as a psychiatrist, and yet later he became a part of the Sub 68 project in MK Ultra, which let's see. So yeah, this is I don't know. This came out of, let's see. Play it real quick.
In Montreal, on the side of the mountain overlooking the city, stands an ancestral home bearing a name worthy of an Edgar Allan Poe horror tale, Raven's Crag. Donated to McGill, Raven's Crag became the Allen Memorial Institute for the Treatment of Mental Illness. Here the CIA channeled money for MK Ultra, Subproject 68, which became a real-life horror tale. The project chief in Montreal was Dr. Ewan Cameron, world-renowned chairman of the Department of Psychiatry at McGill and director of the Allen Memorial Institute. The CIA secretly funded the medical experiments through a front in New York City called, of all things, the Society for the Protection of Human Ecology. Documents show that the agency had been impressed with earlier work done at McGill in sensory deprivation, work that was useful in designing sophisticated torture techniques later on. But at the time, brainwashing looked even more promising, and Dr. Cameron was the perfect one to carry out the work, an American citizen with a world-class reputation operating outside of the United States. Dr. Cameron certainly had the credentials. At various times, president of the Canadian, the American, and even the World Psychiatric Association.
These are the days, and ours are the occasions.
In an address to colleagues from around the world, Cameron showed that he certainly knew the potential of the human mind, for good and bad.
and it is his mind, no less, which may destroy mankind.
All right, so we have that, and then one more on this, because there was very specific drugs they were testing out, and I can't remember or pronounce all of them, so I'm going to go over that again. Let's see. It was essentially a bunch of new and it was a bunch of tranquilizers that they were testing out, and then there were some tranquilizers that they have already researched they were using on people along with LSD, and they were using these fucking drugs on people with depression when this is how you would treat someone with schizophrenia. And so let's go.
Dr. Cameron went further with drugs and electric shock treatments than any of the U.S. researchers in the MK Ultra project dared. His aim was to wipe the mind clean. Then he would implant new messages by forcing the patient to listen to a hypnotic repetition as many as 250,000 times.
Just like they would do in Brave New World with the hypnopedia, where they would, you know, especially with the betas that they created with eugenics, they would do this same thing Aldous Huxley wrote about in his dystopian novel, Brave New World. Hypnopedia, repetitions of phrases or, you know, certain things to such a degree when they were asleep that it would be essentially implanted into their mind as a memory and a fact that they believed wholeheartedly.
This was called psychic driving. Most of the drugs used in the program were experimental and some dangerous. There was the tranquilizer Artane, a paralysis-inducing anectine, and curare, which pygmies tipped their arrows with to paralyze victims. Olbulcapnan, another experimental tranquilizer, and lysergic acid diethylmide, the hallucinogen LSD. In her room at...
Life's barely long enough to get good at one thing.
If that long.
Yeah, so be careful what you get good at.